We're in one of the fastest growing, newest communities in the country. And unfortunately, we're in a community that has a broken housing system. Homeless people don't care about the county line. They just know they don't have a home.
HUD can change direction based on a current administration. More progress could be made if we made adjustments other than sweeping the table clean and starting over again.
We're blowing things up. This is only going to mean, in the short run, many people are hurt.
Good people do bad things when they become desperate. And I think we're going to put a lot of people in a very desperate situation, and the answer is going to be arrest them.
The policies and programs that we're setting up in this country, in this community in Florida, are policies that are unwelcoming. They're incompassionate. We will do some terrible things in this country because we are doing what we're doing right now. This leads somewhere. This does not stop with homeless people and immigrants. That's why people of faith need to get involved with these types of issues.
Hi everyone, Tracy Lewis with Imagine Marketing, and we are joined by Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Brian Postlewait, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Homeless Services Network of Central Florida. This podcast is produced, filmed, and edited by John Burkett with Imagine. Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. Book a free consultation today. In this episode, we'll be talking with Brian, and if you guys missed the first episode with Brian, please go back to 98. So Brian, how did you and Scott find each other, and what was your first impression of Matthew's Hope?
Oh my gosh, what can I say and not say? I mean, here's the thing is I've been in this work for my whole adult life. You do not survive in this work without being a little crazy. And you find a lot of eccentricities, partly because it's so damn hard to wake up every morning and to work with people who have nothing and are struggling to get along. And that requires a kind of rhythm, a kind of heartbeat, a kind of hard work and intensity and compassion that breeds, interesting characteristics. I was driving in this morning. I have a red convertible, and I've been driving all over town with the hood down, or the top down. And I called my wife this morning. I said, I think my eccentricities are self-care. And so I was new to town. I work on the system level. My job is to make friends with everybody. Matthew's Hope is an out-of-the-box kind of organization. It's an entrepreneurial organization. It's that organization that's constantly innovating and changing. And that is the brainchild of Scott and his amazing team. And so the first time I came over, I think I got the treatment because I got all of Scott's feelings about the community at large and the COC and all that, which is fine. But he took me on a tour. And I just got to tell you, it's the most amazing place. Here we are at Hope Chest, and to see what you guys do here and your social enterprises. I've built 3 social enterprises that employ people experiencing homelessness back in Canada. And I just love what he did. I just love the spirit. I love the spunk. And so it took us a while to get past the doubt and but we've really grown to love each other. And I just think this man here and this organization is really at the forefront of this battle, this work. And so grateful to have him as a friend and a colleague. And anyway, that's what I think. That's what I think about Matthew's Hope.
And Scott, what was your first impression?
Why are you in my office?
So he came to see you.
What are you? Yeah, I didn't ask him to come see me. I wasn't asking anything from HSN.
Never have.
And yeah, no, well, I'm coming. So get ready.
Okay.
Hear the knock on the door.
Right.
I'm coming.
Right.
No, it was first off, when Brian came to, there was a lot of changes happening
So
with
much.
HSN.
How long ago was this?
9 years ago,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. And so I was just building relationship with some of what it was before, very cautiously so, because again, I'm very entrepreneurial in how I think, and I didn't want to tie my hands behind my back in what I thought I needed to do, and I was doing what I needed to do. I thought much based on my own experience. Okay. What I saw, I've had people say, and it may sound terrible when I say it, they said, how did you do this? I said, I watched them, not them, but whoever they are, and I did the opposite. And there's some truth to that. But there was a lot of things of me just remembering, both as a kid and then as a young adult, 2 different times of being homeless, that I saw things and I go, but that's not going to get anybody out of homelessness. And I still feel to this day, much of it makes my job harder because they're just kind of throwing it out there, right? And so here I come, here comes Brian, and he's making nice with me, and I'm like going, I don't even know why you're here. What's going to happen now? What do you want from me? Type of thing. I mean, honestly, I was probably not on my best behavior. I don't think I was ever ugly, but I don't think I laid out the red carpet either, other than I was willing to show him what we did. And I think probably if I'm honest with myself, looking back on it now, was trying to make sure you understood the right way it was supposed to be done.
Probably. So Scott doesn't.
If I'm being really honest, now that I'm looking back, I probably, now that you're here, let's show you how it's supposed to be done. But what I've learned as I've gotten older too is that I'm not always right. I am learning daily, and I've tried to be the kind of guy who looks in the mirror every night. And my staff laughs at me sometimes because I literally look in the mirror. I look into my own eyes, and I ask myself pretty much daily, did I do all I could today? Is there anything I need to go back and fix that I could have done better, or I may have offended or hurt somebody along the way unintentionally? Is there anything? I ask that stuff because I try to do. If you're going to sit there and say things like "do all things with excellence" or "don't bother," that's a bold statement to put out there over and over again.
Yeah.
So I've got to keep myself in check constantly, and the more I really from a distance, more than it's not. I don't want to give anybody the impression that Brian and I just been hanging out, drinking bourbon together, right? Okay, it's been a gradual process of watching him, listening to him, following him on social media, where I'm sitting there going, God, this guy and I are so much alike. How is that even possible that we're this much alike when he's with that team? Okay.
Yeah.
And then what it really came down to is I realized that we both were heading the same place. We both had the same desire, and that what I thought differently, there's probably more, I would say, if I'm fair, that I would disagree with HSN as opposed to disagreeing with Brian himself.
So
He
does,
also has to work within that system.
I mean, HSN does what my wonderful boss, Martha R., who has, we've had the pleasure of working really hard in this community. We are, I believe, one of the best continuums of care in the country.
And I would agree with that.
And over the last 9 years, when Martha came 10 years ago, I think we were pulling down about $7 million from the feds. This last year, we pulled almost 23 million down. And that's because we have been building relationships with every provider in this community and getting everybody to work together and collaborate and improve. And, that takes time. It takes effort. And we have three different counties, 3 major cities, and there's a lot of political difference. People trying to work together. Homeless people don't care about the county line.
They don't care.
They don't care about the city. I don't even know where the city of Orlando line is because it's like, does this kind of thing. They don't care about that. They just know they don't have a home. And so we're working together, and it takes time to build things that matter.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Agreed.
It's all about trust, right?
Yep.
Relationships. And as we build trust, we make progress.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing.
And I will say too, just unfairly, however you want to put that, is that because when I came in on the scene, there were so many people that didn't want to do anything. And the closest of anything serving the homeless was 11 miles away. And to this, 16 years later, it's 11 miles away. So I had to become innovative and try to figure out how, if I can't bring them together, then I got to develop it myself. And so that was part of that resistance also.
And you mentioned continuum of care. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So a continuum of care is like an area of geography that is like set out by the federal government.
Okay.
There are 400 continuums of care across the country. Every square mile of the country is within a continuum of care. There's 27 in the state of Florida, 400 across the country, and then there's always a lead agency that is supposed to be helping facilitate collaboration within that continuum of care.
And does Matthews Hope work directly with HSN, or do you guys exist in similar spaces? Are you still building that trust? What's the dynamic of you guys?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a variety of different collaborations. The Matthews Hope puts data into our system, our
Okay.
homeless management information system, which is an open source data sharing platform that is able. So when somebody is when their outreach workers are working with somebody out here in Winter Garden or their drop-in center and they're interacting with somebody, we know that they also interacted downtown and they're working with, and so that's part of it. We all of us have a variety of different funders. Orange County, City of Orlando, Osceola County, federal government, whatever. But every different organization has their own secret sauce.
Gotcha.
Maybe Matthews Hope has a little more secret sauce than other organizations do. But that's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think probably 10 years ago, even, I think Scott would say this, even though there was homelessness in Winter Garden, the game has changed.
Oh,
It is. And so we're all
clearly.
we're all growing with this community. We're in one of the fastest growing, newest communities in the country. And unfortunately, we're in a community that has a broken housing system.
Yeah.
And we are seeing unsheltered homelessness rise like crazy. And I know that you're dealing with this out here in Winter Garden. And I know that because it was happening in Brevard, you stepped in to the gap there and started working there as well.
Which is nuts.
It is nuts. You're nuts.
Brian, what changes have taken place in relation to HUD, and how have they impacted our area's homeless population and the services that you provide?
Yeah, I mean, about 15 years ago, HUD changed the way that it was working in communities and what it wanted to fund. And as a continuum of care, as HSN, we basically do what the funder wants us to do. We are trying to basically, HUD says, we want to see this. And we say, we are doing what you said you wanted us to do. Because when that happens, then we get more funds into our community and we feed them to organizations that do their own kind of work amongst people experiencing homelessness. And I can't remember your question now. I just totally lost it.
Just how has it impacted the area of the homeless population?
Well, I mean, we are serving more people than we've ever served before. And like I said, we have a lot more funding coming in to house people. But, unfortunately, again, like I said, the housing crisis and everything else, we continue to see homelessness on the rise. And there's reasons why our community is more impacted by homelessness than others. And we could get into that if you want.
Well, and one thing I'll say before you do, because I do want us to go there a little bit, we can. But the other challenge that Brian's organization finds that affects everyone else also is that HUD can change direction based on a current administration.
Yes.
So the challenge is, most things don't. It can take 3 or 4 years to get your footing. Okay. And all of a sudden you're heading there. A new administration comes in and says,
Swipes it
you
out.
know what? we want to do it the way we were doing it 4 years ago or 8 years ago, but we're going to add this little niche to it. That's exactly what's happened now. The problem is, I see it, and tell me if I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. I don't remember what it was, but it's happened. No, all kidding aside,
Yeah.
there is suddenly this housing first initiative has been put, and most people that know me know my feelings on housing first. It's a love-hate relationship on how I look at it. It's been very successful. Some areas, in my opinion, pitifully poor in others, and I can tell you why I believe that. But most importantly, so here we go. So literally, you have all those that are being funded through them with HUD money have now had to change their model, or they're not going to get any money.
Yeah.
Okay. And then all of a sudden, they've spent God knows how much money getting in line to march in step. And then all of a sudden, oh, we're marching this way now.
So there's never ever progress moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think
There's progress, but I think that more progress could be made if we had made adjustments other than sweeping the table clean and starting over again.
I mean, the direction the HUD has been going for the last 12 to 15 years has been a bipartisan synthesis. It hasn't just been Republicans or Democrats. It's been both. I think where, as a country, we've underestimated the housing crisis, and we did not. I mean, we only put $3.9 billion into this work across the country. $3.9 billion. That sounds like a lot of money. It is a drop in the bucket when we're giving $40 billion to, other countries, bailing out other countries, and the hundreds of billions of dollars for other things. And so, I think the federal government, in a bipartisan way, started to make some moves in a positive direction. But like any kind of government program, it needs to adjust. And we needed additional funding to come in to continue to make progress. And unfortunately, we haven't. And I think from administration to administration, one of the great things about, the American project is it's usually like slight adjustments. But right now we're going through a massive disruptive cycle. And there may be some instincts that, tack in a different direction that there might be some positive, but we're blowing things up. And this is only going to mean, in the short run, many people are hurt.
Yeah.
So how do you expect the homeless crisis in our area to evolve in 2026, and why?
Oh my gosh. Well, currently, we believe in this next funding cycle, when we put forth additional grants, that we're going to lose hundreds of housing units that are now housing chronically homeless people who've been home for many years. That the direction that HUD is moving is that we would kind of pour that money that we were traditionally putting into long-term continuous housing into transitional housing. But there's not really a plan to move those folks that are in housing into transitional housing. And there's a lot of cumbersome parts of that. Transitional housing is more expensive. And so we're not going to be able to serve as many people. And there's a lot of questions as to whether or not we're going to be able to get as much funding as we had gotten previously. So, I mean, I think we are going to work our tails off with every provider in this community and collaborate the way we know we can, to work to draw down as many dollars as we can, to work to innovate as quickly as we can. But I think, from my experience, we're going to see a lot of harm done to people who really are on the path to healing right now, and they're gonna be hurt again, unfortunately.
And I think you're going to see some people, and there's such an array of types of people that are going to be hurt. But you're going to see those that truly. You have some folks that are in a situation that, because of where they're at mentally and stuff, they don't even fully grasp the situation they're in. Then you have the folks that finally had enough trust in those of us that are out there in the trenches to start moving their life forward, that all of a sudden the rug gets ripped out from under their feet. And it's kind of like, reminds me of some of the veterans, where a veteran stands in line for 2 years. He gets to the front of the line, they go, oh, you're in the wrong line. You, instead of just moving him over to the next line, they put him in the back. And what happens, that veteran says, to hell with it.
Right.
You know what? Nobody cares. My concern is there's going to be people that have really been trying to do their part. Okay. Because I always like when people have skin in the game. They're doing their part, and all of a sudden the rug gets ripped out from underneath them, and they're just going to go, I'm done. I'm done. And how that will show itself, here's what I can tell you. We're right now in 19 municipalities, soon to be 36 municipalities. And what I can tell you in those 19 is we're seeing more suicide attempts. We are seeing more self-medicating. We are seeing high levels of anxiety. And there's two parts to that: lack of proper rest because they're being moved constantly.
Yeah.
And the fact that so you get lack of proper rest, and you're seeing people be arrested, and you're seeing all these things in there. And all of a sudden, when you take that rest away from someone again, who's also not getting proper nutrition and everything else they need, that mental health gets worse and worse and worse. And good people do bad things when they become desperate. And I think we're going to put a lot of people in a very desperate situation. And the answer is going to be arrest them.
Well, and I think that's
Arrest them.
I mean, I think that's where most of us are fearing that that's the game or that's the intention. And I hope not. I hope not. I really, really don't. I want
to hope not too, but I will say again, where we're at, we're seeing, have you heard this one? And I want to get back to, have you heard about camping paraphernalia?
No.
Oh, you're going to love this. So over in Cocoa Beach, we had two of our guys get arrested for camping.
Oh.
They fell asleep and sitting up.
Yeah.
Just fell asleep. Okay.
Yeah.
The second charge was for camping paraphernalia. I'd never heard of that. I'm a drug addict. I know what drug paraphernalia is.
Yeah.
So I took Charlie and said, "Oh, come on, that's BS." She goes, "No." I said, "Here's the list. A blanket is considered."
Yes.
Okay. And that's the second charge.
Or if you make your shoes into a pillow.
Yes.
Wow.
You're camping.
Okay. Anyhow, that one just blows me away because it just further disables that individual from moving forward, because now he's got fines he cannot pay. He gets pulled over again. You know, I'll just say this: the other day when Shelley and I left to my mom's house in Clearwater, and this was a few weeks ago now, almost a month ago now, when we were talking to more than that. Anyhow, bottom line is we're heading to my mom's house, and just from my house in Merritt Island to the 528, which is maybe two miles, maybe, we watched two SWAT cars pull over two different homeless people that were doing nothing more than walking down the sidewalk. That's all they were doing. They weren't laying, and we knew they were homeless because we know pretty much all the homeless, right? And we're sitting there going, what could they possibly be? I want to hope they were stopping to say happy holiday or something. But my fear is, and I couldn't stand her up, but my fear was they were going to be said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And it's like, would you ask anybody else what they're doing?
Right. Probably.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised one night you see that I got arrested on Cocoa Beach.
No. This really troubles me. And you know a little bit of my story, and I come from a faith-based roots as well. And it's unimaginable to me that most of our neighbors know the same stories that we know about welcoming strangers. Because you might actually welcome an angel without knowing it.
Yeah.
And so many wonderful hospitality narratives in the scriptures. The whole Old Testament is about a people that went on a journey that were dependent upon the welcome of others. The whole New Testament is a story of a community that welcomed the stranger into their midst. And it is the unwelcoming and the unwillingness to go on journeys that gets people into trouble. And we're doing that over and over and over again. The policies and programs that we're setting up in this country, in this community in Florida, are policies that are unwelcoming. They're unfriendly. They're uncaring. They're incompassionate. we're going to pay a price. We're going to pay a price as a community to continue to live like this. We will do some terrible things in this country because we are doing what we're doing right now.
Agreed.
This leads somewhere. This does not stop with homeless people and immigrants.
Can I ask you guys, what is human-centered design?
Yeah, what's really interesting. So again, I've spoken in the other podcast, and I was kind of on the ground in the trenches doing street centered work, and now I'm in the air traffic control room, and there's always a tension when we begin to develop systems. Everything that we do interacts with systems: the housing system, the healthcare system, the financial system, and all of these things. And when we start to plot forward solutions, we can't create solutions on an individual level all the time when problems scale to the point of massive disruption. But then we rightly develop systems to solve problems, and they become bureaucracies. And bureaucracies aren't always bad, but then they can become incompassionate in the name of efficiency, begin to create policies that interrupt dignity and care. Anybody that's been to a hospital knows that they experience this from time to time, right? And so we need to begin to develop in developing our systems, think about the human scale. We need to make systems in such a way that it's easy to choose compassion. It's easy to choose care, not just like numbers of people help, but like how many of the people that came into Matthew's Hope today felt welcomed, back to the welcoming? Like, welcome is a big thing.
It's a huge
I feel better when somebody welcomes me with a smile. I'm going to shout out Tijuana Flats on Orange Avenue, near my house in South Downtown. Every time I go in, they know my name. They welcome me. They say hello. They smile. It makes me want to come back.
Definitely.
And that's a cornerstone of Matthew's Hope is people say all the time, the greatest compliment I get on our staff is when I hear people say, "You saw me, you heard me, you know my name." I cannot tell you how often my mobile teams go out there and they've met someone one time and they're out a few days later or a week later and they come across the same person and they say, "Hey, Brian, how?" And they're like, "You know my name?"
No.
I mean, because that is a cornerstone. Who we want to be is we first need to make you understand you're heard, loved, and cared for. And no matter what the world is trying to sell you, we want you to know you're loved, you're cared for, you're heard, we see you, we want to know what you think. We're here to love on you unconditionally. Look, it's fair to say that not everybody we deal with is likable.
I can't imagine what.
But I can say that about
common company. Not we're not talking about us.
We're warming up.
Yeah,
we're warming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just sit there and we go. It's that simple. I think I've said it before in previous podcasts. When we address our volunteers, we are a faith-based organization. No, we don't shove that down anybody's face.
Yeah.
But we'll say a little prayer. But what I usually say to them is I'll say, if all we did is allow them to see a glimpse of who he is in us that day, we've accomplished everything we need to do.
Yeah.
The rest will take care of itself. Because when people feel heard, seen, loved, a little compassion showed towards them, a little empathy, that they will come back. They want to come back.
Yeah.
And we become family.
So from my experience, being a part of faith-based organizations that are caring for people that are hurting, my biggest frustration, and I'm just a system thinking kind of guy, I would get so frustrated because they were so focused on the transformation of the individual that they forget about the society as a whole. And so we were so focused on that one guy that we missed the other 10 people over here. my frustration when I'm sitting in the air traffic control room of the system, the homeless response system, is that we're so focused on the mass numbers that we forget care and compassion of an individual and the opportunity for transformation and change that happens when we connect, when we love, and when we care,
Relationship.
right? And so it can't be either or, right? People of faith need to care about what HUD is doing because it's impacting so many thousands of people. People at HUD need to care about love and concern and compassion and human dignity. That is what's going to make our
And
society a better place.
if they can't, for whatever reason, would you just support us, those that are willing to go out
Yeah.
there and do it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes someone says, what can I do for you? Will you just stay out of my way? That'll be a start.
Yeah.
Because it is when you want to, think about it. When you wanted to accomplish anything in life, you didn't do it by yourself. And it was based on relationships. Same thing with this. And with some of these folks being who they are, some don't, like, so we see a lot of them are older now. They chose to never have children. Some of them have outlived their children. There's no one for them to even go to. And then the ones that do, often pride, especially with men, will step in the way of their kids don't know until I call and say, your dad died under our care, that their dad was even homeless. He made it up for the holidays every year by bus because he said he was afraid to fly. No, he was able to get a bus ticket. And he cleaned himself up. He went up there and he came back. And they just think dad is living in Florida, living life, and since mom passed, dad seems to be pretty active down there. And they have no idea until I call and say, hey, my name is Pastor Scott Ballou. I run, well, what is Matthew's Hope? Well, we're homeless. Well, why would you be calling me? Well, your dad's been under our care for the last few years and he just passed. That's not possible. We just saw daddy over Christmas.
I can't even tell you how many of those stories I have.
It's so heartbreaking.
It is.
And part of it is, again, pride.
So,
Yeah.
Brian, can you tell us about your work with the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So,
The second hat.
Your other
I mean, I mentioned earlier that a COC is in a geographical area and there's 27 continuums of care within Florida. And all of those continuums of care in Florida work together. And organizations like Scott and everybody that joined together in this organization called the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness. And we work to advocate in Tallahassee and educate Tallahassee on the things that are happening on the ground. We work to try to get more funding in. We work to try to communicate like things that are working. We have the best homeless conference in the country, I believe, that happens once a year. It's going to be next September again. And Matthew's Hope is always an amazing sponsor and exhibitor. You guys brought your new bus down this last time, but we try to encourage organizations to share great ideas. We get together and try to encourage one another to keep doing the work. And I've been the president of that organization for the last 2.5 years. It's a volunteer position. And I just love it. I love being able to, again, to work on a system level and try to figure out how we can build momentum and impact change for Floridians. Far too many of them are housing insecure.
Definitely. And when you attempt to advocate for the folks in Tallahassee, do you find them open and willing to learn?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, systems are big and hard to crack, right? And there's so many competing interests. That's why we have to work together. That's why people of faith need to get involved with these types of issues, because it's only when we work to advocate on a policy level that we can really start to change things on a large scale.
You find like with numbers, it helps.
We have to work together. Nothing ever happens alone, right? You're never to change things as a lone soldier, as a Don Quixote out there tilting at windmills. We have to organize, right? That's not a bad word, right? My wife organizes our house. It's better, right? When we work together on a problem, we make it better. And that's really what America, I think, is really all about. Anyway, it's a community that's been committed to organizing things to make them better. We got to get back to that.
Scott, have you experienced this with Tallahassee? Has it been similar, or is your experience different?
Look, I will tell you this. There is my experience, because most of my experience has been more recent. My place in all this was never so much to be a homeless advocate. I set out to help people from an understanding of my own homelessness and things like that years ago.
Oh, that's so good.
And what's happened is God has kind of given me this platform that I had to decide whether I was going to help a few hundred or several thousand. So that was the first step, is kind of reorganizing Matthew's Hope and building up a group of people that with a succession plan, as my board puts it, if Scott were to get hit by a bus, then what? But what I found is I was getting pushed towards the front. And I really wasn't looking for that, but I said, okay, if that's what God wants of me, then that's what I'll do. And so I started meeting more with politicians and what have you. And I find that several are very gracious, but there's no follow-up. Has been my experience. The second thing was when I went to Tallahassee before HB 1365 was put into place, I went particularly on what I saw was happening in Brevard. So I was dealing with people like Randy Fine. And if you know anything about Randy Fine, I'm not a fan. I think there's things that he has said that is very hateful, which I find very interesting from a Jew who has been, Jewish people have been through what they've been through, that he is so insensitive to the homeless community. But one of the things I said to him when we were in Tallahassee is he's explaining to me that what this is going to do is going to force people into getting these services they need. And I said to him, in all due respect, those services don't exist.
Yeah.
They're out there, but they're scattered. They're not in every neighborhood. They're not in every COC. They're not. And he says, well, you do them. And I said, well, we do. But I said, let me put this in perspective for you. My budget's $15 million in 19 municipalities. The entire budget for Florida is $35 million. The math doesn't
I'm
math.
not a very good math.
The math doesn't math.
I don't feel that.
And his response to me was, you'll figure it out.
Do it by yourself.
I've had
That's
people like Debbie Mayfield over on the coast sit there and said, well, the county has this money, or these cities have this money, and you're going, the cities and counties are going, where's the money then? Okay, so you have everybody kind of shoveling it off their plate onto another plate. Yeah. So
can I just make a comment right there? Because absolutely. I think this is, those of us who are in this space. So money doesn't solve everything, right? No. And it's not that these are very complex human problems, and humans are very complex. But if I mentioned earlier that we have about $4 billion that is invested in homelessness by the federal government. If we had $12 billion a year, we could house every unsheltered person in the country in a house.
Think about that.
And $12 billion is a rounding error in a department budget. It is a rounding error in the Defense Department budget, in the healthcare budget, in the whatever. We don't want to solve homelessness. We don't want to solve it because it is solvable. It doesn't mean something's not going to become homeless and we're going to have to work to get them.
Right.
But we have large scale homelessness in this country because we refuse to put our money where our mouth is. So next time you go see the guy in the park and you're upset that he's sitting on the bench and you can't sit there, or next time you walk into Starbucks and you're upset that there's a homeless person, they're a little stinky in the corner, be upset that the state of Florida and the federal government is not yet investing enough in the problem to make it go away.
You know where I finally just went, what the hell? When we figured out in 8 days how to finance and build cages for individuals that were undocumented. It proved to me that if you want to get something done,
100%,
you can get it done fast. I mean, I've been working 3 years on getting my permitting together in Brevard County for my transitional housing. It took a year of working to get the first bus for Orange County through. It takes so much time and the amount of money that's wasted in the process.
Yeah.
But when you watch the fact that, well, we're going to do something and we could finance it and build it in 8 days to do what we wanted to do. I said, okay, but what? So what's the difference? It's because that is something that they felt was
Priority.
important. It was a priority. It got done. Now, here's what's more interesting. That money that was there, and correct me if I'm wrong, the money that was spent on Alcatraz, is that the stupid name they gave it?
It is.
Okay. That would have we could have used that money and housed every single veteran. If I'm remember that right.
I mean,
A huge
it's a lot of money. Yeah.
Huge number that we could have just overnight taken them off the streets. Now, the other side you have is where are you going to put them? Because we have a housing issue in Florida. Okay. I can't move them into those multi-million-dollar houses that are sitting on the beach empty that some foreign investor either owns or some guy up north who comes down here for 3 months a year. Okay. So you have all kinds of issues that are falling into this. And I think when Brian talks about the complexity of it, I want to make sure people don't, when they hear me speak, when I'm not around Brian, that I'm not suggesting any of this is easy. It's not, but it's doable.
Obviously.
It's doable.
Like you just
And we've seen it done on smaller scales that would be easy to scale.
We could do it. We could do it if people of faith got behind it in this country.
Can you imagine?
If people of faith read their Bibles and decided that we need to welcome the stranger. We got to welcome the stranger.
Amen.
Is there anything else you guys want to say before we wrap this episode up?
Yeah, we're going to have Brian come back. I do get stopped on occasion now where someone said, hey, I've been listening to the podcast. I really learned something today I never thought about. Or I never thought about it that way, or I never considered it from that angle.
Yeah.
You know, you bring something up that I probably don't say even often enough is it the people of faith. I find it amazing that I've been working a year now to find host sites for these sleeper buses. And the ideal situation, quite honestly, is a church, because as a 501c3 religious organization, you can almost do anything you want on your own property.
Yeah.
And this is basically amounts to emergency shelter. So if a storm comes in or cold weather comes in, a church can fling open its doors, let people sleep there. It's fine. Suddenly you have what's now considered an RV parking in the parking lot. That is fine also. But cities will send the zoning guy out and say, well, you're not zoned for this because there is no zoning for RVs. The reality of it is the church could say pound sand. They don't, because they do not want to lock horns with the city or the county. And that is so unfortunate because, again, the amount of money we're wasting and going around and around and around and around, we could have already had people off the streets a year ago.
Well, there's enough empty churches that could become homeless shelters that would put every unsheltered person inside tonight.
Brian, you know how I started. I don't know if you know it. I started this as a freeze warning shelter. And I didn't go to seminary until my 30s. So I had a 20-year marketing career behind me. And so I come out
started
of seminary.
Working at 10 years old.
Yeah, I wish. Trust me, I'm not embracing 63 at all. Trust me, I'm not. I don't like it at all, because that means I'm 7 from 70, and that just freaks me out a little bit. Yeah. But I come out of seminary. I'm twice as old as the guys that I'm going to seminary with. So I have this great reverence, if you will, for the pastorate. And I sit down with pastors that look at me and I say, all I'm asking from them is saying, would you allow them to come in when it's dangerously cold? I'll take care of all the rest. I'll bring the blankets. I'll do anything. All I'm asking you to do is open your doors. And the answer was, from one after another, what if they came to church? You want to use our bathrooms? And I'm going, I'm ready to take on hell with a water pistol. I just got seminary. I'm like, let's go. Right. And I was in just absolute shock. Now, here I am again, almost 16 years later, Going back out to the churches is saying, can I park in your frickin' parking lot? And I'm being told no. Could I have a key to your bathroom? I'm being told no. I even have a company who's a commercial cleaning company that said, we will come in for free behind you and clean the bathrooms if there's any issues. I have a security guard and a driver on every single bus. I have cameras, and I'm being told no from the very people that should be screaming from the pulpits, why in the hell are we not living out Matthew 25?
Well, foxes have holes. Birds have nests. The Son of Man, no place to sleep. It's been a pleasure. I've loved it. I hope you will have me back.
No, you're going to be a regular.
Okay. All right. Good.
Okay. We're going to make it a regular.
Okay.
Because I think you give us more perspective, and I think sometimes a change in voice helps a lot.
Definitely. Thank you guys both. Thank you, Brian, for being here.
Tracy.
We will welcome you back, and we're excited for that. And thank you all for watching, listening. Please like, share, comment, send us any questions that you may have, and we'll see you next time.